Hey everybody, let's take a look at how to fill out the research and reporting slide deck that we've given you. So what we want to do is we gave you this time and we walked you through the research process and you gathered all these sources. Now it's time to take the information that you found and then create a way to report that information back to your audience. Okay, we want to be able to give that information back. So what we have here is a basic slide deck that just walks you through the process. So first off, on the first slide, we want you to put the topic. So you'll put the topic here. Now, this is not the whole research question. This is just the big general terms that you're looking at. And then, of course, you'll put your name. On this slide, this is where you put your research question. So whatever the question was that you found, or that you developed, you're going to paste it right here on this line. Just copy it from your doc, paste it right here. Now, if you want to, you may want to change the font and the style, whatever, to make it look better. But this is where that research question goes. And again, remember that research question is not going to be a yes/no question, and it's not going to be something that can be answered with a singular answer like this one thing, right? In these bullets here, we want you to add in the keywords that you use to find your information. Now, that could be, if you take your research question, you break it down. Remember, we broke it down into 2 or 3 pieces. So that could be some of your keywords. You could have used other keywords to help manage that or narrow it down. So this just gives us a look to see how you completed your research. And then from there, we're going to have you do these 3 slides for each of the 3 sources. Okay. So source number 1, source number 2, and then source number 3, you're going to do these slides for each. Okay. So first off, we want you to change where it says source number 1. Just change this first line, put the title of the source in. So we know that this information comes from this source. Okay. And then we ask you some questions here about how to know that this was a really credible source. What about this source really gives you a lot of confidence that it is a valid, credible, useful source that's really going to help you get to answering your research question. Now, you'll notice most of these are right off of that CRAP paper. Remember when you use the CRAP test to evaluate your sources, to try to score your sources or to look critically at it? These are right from this. So first off, who is the author? And then the author's credentials. Now, if there was no author, you're going to put no author here, right? The publishing date. Okay, again, it's either going to be the date that it was published. If there's not a publishing date, then we'll use the copyright date. If there's not a copyright date, then we're going to put no date. Now, the publisher, now that was not on the CRAP sheet directly, but this does get back to the credentials of the author. So what website or what source, publication, magazine, newspaper, was responsible for producing this information? Who supported it being published, right? And this can be found in a couple different places. The first place normally is either going to be in like the citation. It will have that publisher information in there. So it'll be author, title, publisher. Okay, that would be a good place to find it in your MLA citation. You could also find it on the About Us page or the About page. So if you go back to that website, or if you go back to that to the article, and if there's an About Me page, you can find it there. Or you might be able to find it on the bottom of the page where it says copyright, because it'll be copyright, a date, and then who is copywriting it. And that would be the publisher. Well, now the one thing about that is that you may not know the credentials of the publisher. So you might have to do a little investigating to make sure that you know it's credible. And then it's going to be the relevance. That's straight from the CRAP paper. Why did you do that, right? Why did you pick this source as helpful to answering your question? There should be 2 or 3 reasons on here. But again, if you did your CRAP paper correctly, this is going to be a copy paste job. And then the purpose, why did the author produce this content? And again, we're looking for a couple different, we're looking for a deeper answer. So don't put to inform, right? Or to persuade or to share. That is the basic, but to share what? Or to inform about what? To persuade is to do what, right? So you do have to take that second step in explaining that. And then, still with this source, we're going to put the set name of the source up here again. And then we want you to summarize the source. Now, this is, again, we've talked about summaries before, so you should know how this is. This is where you're going to explain the source in a few sentences. It's a retelling. So if somebody else had not read this, this is the content they need to understand what that source is all about, right? This is going to be a paragraph. This is going to be 3, 4, 5 sentences. And this is going to hit all the main points. It's not going to be a detailed, the first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph retelling. Okay. But it's going to give us the main idea. It's going to give us supporting details. It's going to give us those supporting ideas. So we know what that source was. The big thing to think about is that your reader, your audience has not read this source. They have not read through this. So they don't know where you're coming from. And when you produce this information, they're not going to be very familiar with that source. This is going to help them get there. And then the important fact. So what we want you to do is we want you to go into that source and we want you to find a fact that you believe is really helpful answering that research question. So you started with a research question, and then you're like, I'm going to go find information to help me understand this. And you found this source. So what in this source helps you answer that question? So we want you to copy a quote from that source. Now, this is probably going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 sentences. We're not expecting a huge block of text, but you're going to copy and paste it right here. Because this is a quote, you are going to put it in quotation marks. Then, how does this particular quote help you understand the research question? What do you think about this piece of information? What is your reaction to this? So this is going to be 2 or 3 sentences here where you just kind of do some basic analysis of this quote. Now, the different thing, and again, this is something we're going to add to it. We want then a graphic here. We want some sort of image that helps us see what this is, right? So if you talk about a particular item, can we put a picture of that there? Or a particular person, can we put that picture there, right? So when you pull that information out, we're also going to be able to visualize that. Now, the thing to think about here is that you're not going to get an exact image, right? You're not going to get an exact match of what you're talking about. That's okay. How would you represent that? How would you get that point across to us visually, just to reinforce the point that you're making here? Once you do paste that graphic into here, and you will delete this information so you can, your graphic will look right. We want you to paste the link to that graphic right here, so we know where you got that graphic. Those are copyrighted images, so obviously you have to give credit where credit is due. You're then going to do this with source number 2 and source number 3. The last slide you need to deal with then is the works cited. But again, you've already done this, so it's going to be a copy and a paste, and you're going to paste it right into here. The last slide then just is the rubric, is the scoring. How will this be scored? You will get a point for for the first slide to make sure that it has the title and the name. You'll get a point for putting in your research question and the keywords that you used. You will get a point for changing the source number 1, number 2, number 3 to the titles. That's really important because we do need to know what source you're referencing. You will get 5 points for each of the summaries and 5 points for each of the evaluations that you do. And then you'll get a point for each of the quotes that you bring in. This will be, now this is not just, oh, there's a quote there, but does it really appear to answer the research question? Does it go back to that? Is it something that's going to be applicable? 2 points for each of the graphics. And again, not that you just have a picture, but that picture makes sense. It helps us see the quote. It helps us see that information, visualize that information. And then 2 points each for the analysis of the quote, where you say how it answers the research question and what you think of it. And then finally, 2 points for the research slide. That's a total of 50 points right there. Okay, that's a total of 50 points. This is a unit assessment. So this will go into the unit assessment score that is in that 40% category. And so it will move the needle. There are a lot of free points in this, really. I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of free points here. But we want you to hit as many. We want you to do really well on this, because we think that this is really, we've broken this down enough that this really should be fairly easy for you. And we do want to make sure that you are able to show, I can not only find sources, but I can actually do something with them once I have found them. As always, if you have any questions, please make sure that you're asking Miss McGuire or I, so that we can help you and get you in the right direction. We will give you a lot of time in class to do this, but you may also need to do some time outside of class. So it is really important for you to stay focused and engaged, that you don't let this go missing. You don't want to get a 0 in the RDS. But if you need anything, please make sure you're asking McGuire I, so that we can help you out and give you the help you need. Good luck, everybody.